So today I had somebody on Facebook decide they were going to mess with me or something. Picked up on an older post a day or two ago, I think, that I threw out a whole bunch of crap. I shit posted, but it was all like composed. It wasn't other people's shares, but most of it was friends only. Like the one thing that was public actually did get somebody like randomly searched through it or something. I don't know how this dude found me or whatever, but so this name that may or may not be real, picture that probably isn't the person operating it, griefing me because, so they claim, I referred to the president as Cheeto Hitler. Not because I believe he's Hitler, because I don't. I don't think that at all. But it was just funny that this dude was like, yeah, you obviously don't understand Hitler. And I was like, let me explain Hitler. And I did. And so then he's like, yeah, but you called him Hitler. And I was like, I'm sorry, Facebook doesn't have a sarcasm font. And then explained my viewpoint. And like, I don't know how this guy's going to react or what the purpose is. If there's even a reason for, like, I don't, has he already disengaged? Like, who knows? But it's just like, dude, man, are you seriously going to fuck with just about the one person that is, like, actually awake? Because it's all bullshit? Well, not all. There's a couple things that aren't, but, like, I read this article from Medium that was a Katie Johnstone thing about, it was from August, and I don't remember having seen it before. Maybe I did, and I just don't remember. But I don't remember seeing this one specifically saying that, like, society is made of narratives, and that makes it exactly like the Matrix. So waking up from the Matrix is realizing that society is narratives. And so the fact that this came up and then this interaction on Facebook happened as well is very interesting. But the fact that the dude thought he could approach, and he obviously didn't know who he was approaching. Like, why would you, I don't know, I guess I see where he's coming from, but it should have been obvious that I was being sarcastic. Like, nobody who seriously, like, hates the guy calls him Cheeto Hitler that I'm aware of. Like, I don't think that. Usually they call him Drumpf if they really hate him. So, like, it should have been obvious. Should have been perfectly obvious that I was being sarcastic. But, okay, whatever. Maybe this is an opportunity to increase someone else's self-awareness. Although, like the article that I had read earlier said, it's futile to try and wake people up. Once you realize that, you can stop suffering so much. Ugh. So, speaking of that article briefly, that interruption I had out there was the person that I'm about to describe, saw this article, read it, and thought, oh, this is dope. This is everything that's going on right now. But anyways, my point was getting at that this article came out in August. And I don't know why I didn't see it until now. But so I went inside and read a couple excerpts off of it, and it was just like, just remember that everything you see. And so the one that I've had the most difficulty with had the expected reaction. The one that really doesn't like the meme about the gray guys with the programming. And it was as soon as I mentioned, the article mentions Agent Smith. And what basically happened was the typical reaction is this. The first, there is resistance. It's just you can tell that they don't like what they're hearing. There's cognitive dissonance going on. The second is that there's options at this point. It could go straight to Agent Smith, or it could be other things. So the first thing that happened was putting use of logical fallacies, basically putting words in my mouth. De facto, the person, that's not even right. De facto is not the right word. Via me, the person who wrote the article, putting words into the mouth that were not there. And as this individual's mom came out, getting ready for work and sitting down, tying shoes and whatnot, this event occurred, and she called it out and was like, yeah, no, that's not what's being said at all. And so then a little bit more resistance occurred, and then there was the real moment of truth was that there was a highlighted segment. I said, well, this is what they highlighted. And the segment is twofold, but it begins, okay, it criticizes the left and the right, but it begins with the left and then says the right. It just glitched on me when I said that. That's hilarious. And so what happened was, as soon as I read the thing about, well, the people on the left think that they are clear-eyed, blah, 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 this and that, and that propaganda of Fox News that they don't seem to see. But as soon as it started talking about liberal side, he just, and see, this is the school indoctrination. We don't even have TV or cable out here, but just by being around other people, this is the indoctrination that is happening in the schools of just this leftist ideology in the name of compassion, and it's garbage because it's not logistically possible, not the way they propose. So anyways, yeah, the next stage of it is the Agent Smith comes out, this complete different set of eyes, a complete different brow set, a complete different mannerism, not realizing that they have changed, and defending the worldview. Now, this is after reading the segment of the article about how the first thing that happens is that you break away from it and other people around you try and put you back into it. They argue, they mock, they do all these things. And it just explains everything that I've been through, that I've been describing and complaining about, that my kids seem to think I'm crazy about. And here's an article from a well-known source that basically isn't, you can't really dispute things that Katie Johnstone writes. Like, she keeps it factual. And it, just because you don't like what she has to say because you feel otherwise or whatever, doesn't mean that what she's saying isn't true. The article first points out a very, very enlightened, very transcendental notion, which of course meant resistance. The real resistance, right? We're resisting, or what you're fucking resisting is the truth. The real truth is that there are things like, she said, like, you can point out your knee. If I say point out your knee, you can show me your knee. But if I say point out the economy, you have to use linguistic symbols and concept pointing and directing at these things. And it's not the same thing. It's not a thing. And so trying to get this concept of things and non-things to people who have not actively sought to transcendentally enlighten themselves, you can't force enlightenment. It doesn't work like that. I mean, people wake up to stuff, but you can't just like, you must see. Like, that's really not cool. So anyways, yeah, the typical response occurred all the way through the resistance, the argument, and then finally coming around and saying, well, okay, so I see, I do agree with a few things and whatever. And I just reiterated that the real point of the article was, the main argument was that the suggestion that to be awake means that there is an objective truth that has not been demonstrated. And it's like, but it has been demonstrated. The explanation of the oligarchs, just because oligarch is a trigger word that stops thought, does not mean that it isn't a real thing. There are people that are hideously rich that control the industries, that control all the things. And really, they just control the narrative, and all the rest falls into place. That's inverted totalitarianism, which is another trigger word that stops thought. But it is true. It's a real thing. And that's what we basically find ourselves in. So the question is not, what is it or how do we deal with it? We know the answers to these, and we know about these futilities. The real question is anybody actually in charge of it, or are we just running ourselves domesticating into this? Like, are we just, because society is a series of narratives, it is just a concept, it is not a thing. And whoever controls the narratives controls the growth of it, the evolution of it. So if we've been living under these imposed leaderships and that we need control, and maybe that's, leading us into a self-codependence, which is like a feedback loop of cognitive dissonance. It is bad. It is inverted totalitarianism. It's not even knowing who the hell Big Brother is. Who's actually in charge? We don't know. You find out who's in charge, they've got a boss. Uh-oh. See? So, but anyways, you try and point out this stuff, and I've said this before. I've said this very recently on my own compositions on Facebook in the last few days about the fact that what am I trying to get at? I said a lot of things. There was... Oh, now I lost it. Anyways, it'll come to me momentarily. Rewinding. I've been bitching about the way that people treated me and the fact that it's all a typical response and they continue doing it, and that there's no real progress being made on any of these people, and the content's been about the fact that demoralized can't be fixed. So what to do? And so, it's almost, there's futility, but you have to make change in yourself and you have to hold it strong, but it also comes to where it becomes very difficult. So then, looking at the resistance that people have to change or to truth even because it's unpleasant, or that they've been so indoctrinated into thinking it, So we're getting on 10 minutes and I'm rambling. So whatever that last point I was trying to make, I apologize for not making it. I'm sure I'll think of it and make it later, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, all these it's so hard when people are conditioned to stop thinking about anything and allow this other thing to take over and just start speaking and saying things that aren't true. But because argument, it's like, well, I don't like that. Well, okay, cool. So wait, what do you mean? You're trying to suggest there's an objective truth? Dude, the person speaking this question, this illogical Agent Smith question, is an extremely logical person all other times. That there is only objective reality and not the subjective. So then why argue the subjective over the objective when it suits your fancy? I mean, that's not consistent. That's not logical. So if you're having an illogical moment, it's because something is obviously not true within one of your presumptions or assumptions. You have to question those basics. So, you don't question everything. You don't literally question everything. That's the dumbest thing ever. It sounds badass. You know what? Pride cometh before a fall. So don't question everything. Just take a moment to question anything at any given moment. But I mean, existential questioning is dumb. Unless you want to talk about afterlife, in which case it's not a question of existence, it's a question of state. So, I'm done with it. We're getting on 12 minutes already. It's just rambles. So, I'm going to upload this, though, because I think this is decent. But, I feel like change is coming in the world still. People are going to see things, but none of us trying to red pill people or whatever is going to do anything. We can be here and have had all this shit laid out so they can be like, why didn't anybody tell us? Dude, man, here we've been. So get on it. Start catching up. You got a bit to go. Get with the program. Ooh, that was an unintentional pun. And as they say, even if they're not funny, say them anyway. All right, I'm done with it. 12 minutes. Peace.